All right, let's dive into this game on Sunday. Practice resumed today. I was on the scene. I got a couple of things that I want to talk about. We'll hear from Will Anderson and what exactly he had to say, as well as what they're saying in New England. And I also want to follow the clues. There's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of talk, but I think this game and what it could be and what it will be, I think it's kind of laid out for us. And there are some clues that we can follow. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the video. Download the Sleeper app. Use the promo code LOCKER. 100% up to $100 on your first deposit. Greater than, less than is the game. I've already gathered what I'm going to do this week. I will show it to you. I am going with greater than Hutchinson yards, 27.5. I think the Kirk yards have kind of gone up a little bit. Opportunity for Hutchinson. I'm going greater than 7.5 yards for Cade Stover. That's pretty much one catch. We saw him a little bit more involved. Same thing for Travion Henderson. I think he's a very underrated receiver, underrated player as a whole. And Josh Allen, greater than 1.5 passing touchdowns. Because he has to. Whether they win or not, he has to. He's asked to do a lot. It's not a CJ Stroud situation for him. He has to play well for them to win this time of the year. This is actually surprisingly a 12.6 to 1 boost on Sleeper. So this is actually an appealing one to play. You put $5 down, you get 12. If you never played, put in 20. You're going to get 20 back when you use that promo code LOCKER. So Hutchinson greater than, Stover greater than, Henderson greater than, Josh Allen on the other side of things. I like this one a lot. Let's talk about CJ Stroud. And I find this really interesting because I think the question was heading into the playoffs, how much does CJ Stroud have to do? And I think the notion was he doesn't have to do too much, and they should still be able to win. But after the first performance, the question now remains, can he even do what's required of him to win games? I think some doubts do creep in based on how it looked and what it looked like and how bad it was. It wasn't just mistakes. It was mistakes that came across as timid. They came across as afraid to use your legs, which we've been talking about. Like, is CJ Stroud able to do enough, even though we've already acknowledged that it's not much that he's being asked to do? So let's hear Nick Caley, the offensive coordinator for the Texans. He spoke today, and we already heard CJ Stroud after that game say he thought he played well. Let's hear what Nick Caley had to say about the turnovers.
Generally speaking, you look at the totality of the season, I've been very pleased with how he's handled. I've got a lot of confidence in him. He's taken care of the ball throughout the year and made strides in that area, and he'll continue to. He's very, cares a lot, works hard at those things, and I think you look at the entire totality of the season here, I think he's done a really, really nice job of that, and playing within the system, not trying to press and do anything other than, operating and making plays as they come to him. So confident in him, got a lot of faith in him, and we've had a good week of practice. We just got to keep that going.
Look, I think the confidence in CJ Stroud is fine based on the fact that he doesn't have to do too much. Now, if you were dependent on CJ Stroud, like say New England is with Drake May, you would probably feel a little bit helpless heading into this game. But that's not the case. It is interesting though, just to hear the way in which these things are discussed in relation to when the defense struggles or when other guys struggle. It's a little bit interesting, and I think there is a unique way in which it's handled. And you've heard CJ Stroud at the start of earlier in the season say, I like Nick Caley basically because he doesn't aggressively get his message across, and so on and so forth, pointing the finger, blah blah blah. You're obviously talking about someone, and maybe that's Bobby Slowick. So there's a certain manner in which you have to handle CJ Stroud, and that's not a knock on him. It's just different for a lot of people. But I go back to what he said after that game, where he said that he thought he played well. There's very few quarterbacks in the league that are going to go up there after that performance and say that they played well. And I think even the biggest CJ Stroud supporter can kind of get taken aback by that. the fact that he said that. Does that mean he was 100% crap? No, but there's middle ground when it comes to this quarterback thing. Sometimes that doesn't exist. Sometimes it's CJ Stroud absolutely sucks. Sometimes it's CJ Stroud's elite no matter what, and it's always someone else's fault. But we can meet in the middle and say, regardless of whether you expect him to be elite or regardless of whether you expect him to be good enough, it wasn't a good performance. But he said that it was good. Let's take him at his word, which you don't always take people at their word at the podium. And there's also a dismissive acknowledgement of the turnovers, but let's just pretend that that was good for CJ Stroud. Let's pretend that, like Nick Caley has said, like Nico Collins has basically said, let's just pretend that that was good for CJ Stroud. Here's my question here in the locker room, and we'll hear from Will Anderson in a second. But I want to ask a serious question. As I often preface my questions and my comments, I'll say this: I'm not trying to be trite. Sometimes it's a natural thing, and sometimes when I say I'm not trying to be trite, I'm actually trying to be trite. I'm really asking this question. If CJ Stroud is right, and what the coaches are saying is not just out of the necessity of how they handle their individual player in CJ Stroud, and they can't go up there and throw him under the bus because they don't think that would result in him putting his best effort forward, or them being able to coach him in the future. Here's my question. Okay. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. And let's ask this question. If Monday night was good, what does bad look like from CJ Stroud? If that was good, then what does bad look like? What does I played bad look like? Because we've now had two instances. And on the road against playoff teams, CJ Stroud has thrown 3 of his 4 interceptions since returning, and a large chunk of his interceptions this season have been on the road against playoff teams. But after the Chargers game, he said that was the best that he'd done this year when it came to progressions. So despite the 2 interceptions in the first half, he thought that was the best that he had handled pre-snap and all that type of stuff. That's what he said. Okay, let's take him at his word. And then let's take him at his word Monday. And let's take the coaches at their words where they're kind of minimizing it. And let's pretend that he actually played good. And I wonder if are there any CJ and are there any like big ride or dies that think that he played good? Because I've made it clear. Again, it's not gang either side. There's middle ground. It wasn't all bad. It was a passing grade. He did very well on third down. But he said he played good. I think didn't play completely awful is more appropriate. Still wasn't good enough is more appropriate, but let's just take him at his word. If Monday night was good, then what does bad look like? And can bad be overcome? It's something to think about, and it's very, very relevant. What does bad look like if that was good? And if it wasn't good, then why do they have to pretend like it was okay? It makes you think. Now, the good news is that the Texans are really, really, really good on defense. They're really good on defense, elite at defense. And the guy who was drafted the pick after CJ Stroud is a big reason for that. Caught up with Will Anderson in the locker room. He's been very open about taking that next step. Let's hear what Will Anderson had to say heading into the game.
I got stuff to do. Gotta get this body right.
You've talked a lot about taking the next step. Now you got the opportunity on Sunday to do that.
Yeah.
What's your mindset, and how nice is it to be back there?
Yeah, it's a blessing to be back here. I told the team today after practice, I was like, being in the second round is not good enough for this organization no more. Like when we were down, it's like, oh, we in the second. Now it's about getting over that hump. But I think this week the preparation's been great. Everybody's been locked in. Everybody know the focus and the mission that we're trying to accomplish. So we've had a great week of practice, man, and I can't wait to get to Sunday.
Kamari talked to us yesterday. It was really interesting. He said that the connection you guys feel with the city and with the fans, and wanting to take them along with this journey.
Yeah.
What's kind of running through this team when it comes to that?
Man, it's so crazy that you just said that because I was just telling them, I was like, bro, you know how crazy the city gonna go, but it's just a testament to them, man. They come out, they show us so much love, so much support, and we just want to do something that's never been done for this city, man, to get Houston on fire. And they've been unbelievable for us all season long, and we just want to do something special for them.
Well, you had the hat trick with 3 sacks last year on Drake.
I'm sorry,
You had the hat trick with 3 sacks last year against Drake. What do you see from
Hey, bro. Alpha Aaron.
What makes him maybe more difficult to sack this year than last year?
Yeah, I would say he's taking off a little bit more, but man, a ton of respect for a guy that I knew, like coming out of college, said, man, he's going to be a top guy in this league, man. Powerful arm, can run, can make throws, can use his legs, do a really good job of scanning the field, making really big throws. But you can see that progression that he's taking the next step, just scanning the whole field, looking for his receivers. But when it's not there, I think he does a really good job of using his legs. So I would just say, like, he's not taking as many hits as he was before, but unbelievable player. Have a ton of respect for him. Can't wait to go against him.
On that note, something you're talking about, the franchise never making the AFC title game before. Is that something you discussed in the locker room?
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's something that we all know. Being here, it's new heights to be made here. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, everybody knows the mission that we're trying to accomplish, and we're just taking it 1 week at a time.
Well,
Frank
how
Ross.
would you describe your pass rush to someone that had never seen you guys play?
Thrash. One word, thrash.
Frank Ross.
Okay, so can I get a follow-up then, since it was one word? I know that you learned a lot from playing with Danielle, and
Yeah.
he said he's also learned from you,
Yeah.
like your never give up motor.
Yeah.
How valuable has it been to your development to have someone like him to play with every day?
Man, it's been very valuable, very, very, very. And I would just say, off the field of being a pro and watch how he develops his game, being on the sideline, going through his process in practice. Like, coach was like, man, this guy has 100 sacks and he's still coming out here and a jog through, reaching for the elbow, doing the little things right. So, like, that's for me and everybody else in the room to see, man, like, this guy has no let up. Like, he has 100 career sacks, Pro Bowl, All Pro, Hall of Famer, and he's still doing the little things. And I think that's what makes him really great is he continues to do the little things, and that's why he has so much success in this league.
As you talk about Drake May, that you knew him coming out of college was going to be such a great player. Frank Ross was just saying that you guys are the ones on the field that the utmost respect is when you guys acknowledge an opposing player, that type of respect. What do you see in a player? What is it that kind of gives it away when you say, okay, this guy's different?
Yeah, man, first I would just say who he is as a person. I remember I got a chance to meet him. I want to say we was in Pennsylvania at one of the award shows, and he was just a down-to-earth guy. But obviously watching him in college, when he was at Carolina, I was like, oh, yeah, he's special, man. But like I said, he's a big quarterback, hard to bring down, can sling the ball down the field. He has all the attributes to be a really great quarterback.
Well,
Their offensive line, what do you see from their offensive line, including their big rookie tackle?
Hey, bro.
Big guys,
Alpha Aaron
can move really well, can move weight up front. And I think that's what makes them really great in the run game, that they can be able to move guys off the ball. It's going to be a very physical game, and we got to play our brand of ball. Got a chance to go against Will Campbell in college. Ton of respect for him as well, too. Can't wait for that matchup. It's going to be a good one.
Have you heard from Coach Saban since you shouted him out?
No, I haven't.
Well, I was talking with Matt Brick about him, this being a relationship business, coaching, and him being very intentional about creating relationships with all you guys to help you guys play your best.
Yeah.
How do you feel he creates those relationships, and how does that help this defense?
Yeah, I would say one thing about Burke, he values what we want. You know what I'm saying? Like, most coaches, and it obviously is like that. It's like, oh, no, you got to do it this way. But he was like, how do you guys see that? Like, what do you guys think? And, we have our input here and there. Obviously, they make the final decision. But I think it's a healthy balance of like, hey, what do you see from this? How do you see this being ran? How do you see this play being, everything like that. So I think that's what allows us to be free with each other and to be able to run certain plays or do certain things, because at the end of the day, we're the ones out there on the field too. So to have a little bit of input here and there of what we want, I think that's what makes the relationship great.
Will, when you were in college, you played a lot of road games where you all were the hated team, right? The disliked team. What is it like? You went into that atmosphere in Pittsburgh last week, and now you're going to go into another hostile environment on the road. What are playing in those games like?
Yeah, those games are really big, but at the end of the day, I think it's all about us. I think when you approach the game like that and you go into there, it's like, man, it's not about the fans hating you. It's not about any of that stuff, man. It's about how well are you doing your job, how you executing, how you blocking out the noise, how are you locking in for that one snap every single time. And I think that's what makes this group really special. It's like, obviously, we know the adversities that we come, but when we're on that field, man, we're locked into our job and trying to get the best out of every play that we're playing.
Yeah, so Will Anderson's locked in. He's ready to go. I don't think he's going to be satisfied. I think the mindset is the trust with the defense is through the roof. And quite frankly, it should be. It's the strength of the defense. It's the straw that stirs the drink. And they're able to carry the team and overcome a lot of things that haven't been overcome before. It was a historic win given the way that the football was taken care of. Like that's literally a stat. So you're able to do that when it's the defense. I do find it interesting too that the Patriots, and I saw some of the dialogue, and I do want to give compliment to I think Boston's one of the top sports cities in the country. And whenever you cover a football game, which I've been doing for like 20 plus years now, and in Houston for over a decade, like a lot of times you try to get a pulse of what's going on with the other team, and sometimes it's more difficult than others. Like there's a lot of information and there's a lot of stuff to where you can follow the dialogue in Boston. There seems to be like a lot of interest. So I do respect the fact that Boston does what they do. On the flip side, like the Houston Chronicle's only sending one person this week. Like they're not sending Sam Warren. And I know that's a little too inside baseball, but I mean, they're not sending their two beat guys to the divisional round. That's pathetic. Like that would never happen in Boston. And I think Jonathan Alexander and Sam Warren do excellent work, but I mean, you're not going to send them both to a historic game in New England. That's crazy to me. But it has been good following the information. On the other side, though, the 5 sacks that Drake May had, I thought were really interesting because Will Campbell was getting punked, and Will Campbell had the knee injury, and it appeared it was going to be long term. He comes back in. I like Will Campbell's makeup, and these are some interesting quotes. But I responded to this online. I think Dave Portnoy had put out how much he likes Will Campbell and he wants to go to battle with him and all that type of stuff. And I agree. I think Will Campbell can end up being a very good player, but the Chargers defense, for how good it is, Khalil Mack's a little bit older. He's still pretty good. And they don't have Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. And when Will Campbell said this, I'm just like, okay, if you're going to pay compliments there and justify the performance, then you're in for a rude awakening. We talked about this yesterday. I think it's even more relevant given what we just heard from Will Anderson.
I don't give a shit what anyone says, to be honest with you. It's easy to, type behind a Twitter account that, is fake. As I hold myself to the highest expectation of anybody, I want to be perfect. And it's hard for me to, get told that it's going to be hard to be perfect. But, the Chargers, obviously I didn't pitch a shutout. I had 2 or 3 plays that I wish I could have back. But that's $300 million in defensive ends to be.
Yeah, I get it. But they were some really bad reps. And this is a way better group. I look at this game and I'll just be honest. I'm leaning one way heavily, and it's not typically the way that I lean. But there is a ping pong match going on in my head where, on one hand you feel really good about the defense. On the other hand, you have questions about the quarterback. What gives? I think a lot can give. I personally just don't know that the New England Patriots are good enough at this point. And that's not to say they're not a good team. And that's not to say that they couldn't win this game on Sunday. But we heard the Steelers all last week say, we're playing with house money. We're playing with house money. And when you're playing with house money, that means you've reached your full potential and you have nothing to lose. That's kind of more of the old school way that people lay stuff out. They got nothing to lose. They have less to lose than the other team. I know that the New England Patriots, Tom Brady ain't walking through that door. Bill Belichick's a complete shell of himself. He's at UNC. This is different. And they have a quarterback in his second season, first time in the playoffs. They have a coach who's battle tested, but they're way ahead of schedule. They had the easiest schedule in all of football. The Texans had the most difficult, and the Texans are in their third straight time playing in this round. The previous 2, they lost to the Chiefs and they lost to the Ravens. Those were 2 of the best teams in the league with 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league. Older quarterbacks. So when you look at this Texans team and you look at what a lot of teams have to go through to get to next weekend, The Texans have been a mediocre version of themselves, or are a mediocre organization, quite frankly, since they started. They've never been here. Most teams have been there multiple times in the time that the Texans haven't gotten there. But how many times have they actually gone into this? It's the first time that a coach has been 3 consecutive times, a coaching QB, to the divisional. It's really the first time that they've had a full squad after being battle tested. So you look at the advantages that they possess. I know the Patriots have the advantage when it comes to nostalgia and history, but this Texans team is more battle tested. They're more battle tested than the New England Patriots. CJ Stroud, D'Amico Ryans are more battle tested than the duo of Mike Vrabel and Drake May. And when you look at quarterbacks, some of them, like, there's very rare exceptions where you just immediately come into the league and the first time you get in the playoffs, you're just making some magical run. Patrick Mahomes was able to do it. He sat out a year, and then the next year he gets in the playoffs. Boom, boom, boom. But even he had to get over the Patriots. Even Josh Allen, when he first came into the league, Deshaun Watson and the Texans were a little bit ahead of where Josh Allen was in the process. Deshaun had a really good 2017. 2018, he lost. And then 2019, they went toe-to-toe with Josh Allen, and they beat Josh Allen. And you see Josh Allen still trying to get over that hump. Lamar Jackson still hasn't gotten over the hump. Peyton Manning had to go through hell to get past Tom Brady and the Patriots. Brett Favre had to get past the Cowboys. Steve Young had to get past Brett Favre and the Cowboys. Like, more times than not, the great quarterback has to go through some sort of battle in order to get there. CJ Stroud had to walk off the field with his head down after losing to Lamar Jackson. Very next year, he had to do that after losing to Patrick Mahomes. And sometimes once you get over that hump, you never look back. All of a sudden, boom. Anytime that moment's there, that you got to figure it out. But sometimes you got to push guys back. You got to push guys back. And that's why the Texans, this is one of the other reasons why the Texans can't afford to lose this game. Number one, you're battle tested. You have the experience advantage. This isn't like you're going against Baltimore, you're a 10-point dog. You're going against Kansas City, you're a 10-point dog. You're a 2 or 3 point underdog against a team with a lot of flaws that I think is playing with house money. Mike Vrabel has been known to get the most of his team. When the Titans were the 1 seed with Mike Vrabel, not in 2019 when they made the NFC title, but when they were the 1 seed, nobody thought they were winning a Super Bowl. They were playing with house money once they got in the playoffs. And you can't let a young QB skip the line. CJ Stroud might not be able to hold on to the football, but he needs to hold his fucking place in line. Don't let Drake May cut. Sometimes it's okay to let people cut. Oh, sir, your family's up there. Go right ahead, sir. Go right ahead, sir. Oh, you have less groceries than me? And no, go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am. No, really, go ahead. No, it's okay. No problem. Oh, no problem. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Sometimes it's okay to let people skip the line. CJ Stroud's got to hold his place here. There's no Patrick Mahomes. There's no Lamar Jackson. There's no Josh Allen yet. You got to hold your place in line. You can't let Drake May skip you in line. You're trying to get the same damn thing. You're trying to get the same damn thing. This is like being in the buffet line and there's 2 pieces of sausage pepperoni pizza right there, and this fat ass is trying to skip you. Now you got to stick the elbows out and get those 2 pieces of pie. You can't let a young quarterback skip the line. You got to step it up, or you got to do just enough. Fortunately for you, you got a better crew around you too. You got a better crew around you. Now, the Patriots have the home field advantage. Place isn't as crazy as it was when Tom Brady's there. But they have a flawed offensive line. They have limited offensive weapons, one of which we'll hear from in a second. He had some interesting things to say about the Texans' defense. But you can't let the guy skip the line. This isn't the lady at the grocery store with 4 items so she can complete her casserole when you're stocked up. You cannot let a young quarterback skip the line, because here's the thing about it. If you do that, there could be short-term and long-term consequences. There could be short-term and long-term consequences. Because spoiler alert, regardless of what I'm saying about New England right now, I think we're going to be talking about if the Texans continue to play at this level, and it's going to get more difficult as you have to pay guys. I thought Dan Campbell said it really nicely last year, because a lot of times you assume the best is ahead. He said this is hard to do. It's going to be hard for us to get back. And guess what? He was right. He happened to lose a lot of coaches. Players got older. Players retired. In this instance, players are going to get older. You're going to have to handle the cap is going to be a lot more difficult. Maybe Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson figure things out. But if you let Drake May do this, then the chances are he's going to be comfortable, and he's in front of you in line. And all of a sudden, you're not just looking at the backside of Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, although we don't know if you might be able to skip them if you get over this hump. But Drake May is going to be right there in front of you. And that house money is going to hit the jackpot. And then there's going to be a hell of a lot of questions. And how does CJ Stroud handle it? It goes back to what we talked about. How do they handle it? If they have to basically convince themselves that all is great after that last performance, how do they handle this type of disappointment? And on the flip side, maybe because sometimes the highs are high with CJ, maybe he elevates his mindset, and all of a sudden we see him figure it out. But you can't let a young quarterback skip the line. You can't do it. You cannot do it. It's not something that you should even entertain the possibility of. And you should expect to get that done. But there's a lot of consequences, short and long term, if you don't do it. You just got to do it. Can't let him cut. Can't let him cut. Next thing the Texans can't do is you can't waste a historic defense. You can't do that either. We're talking about some of the best defenses to play. This team looks the part. You can't waste that. You cannot waste a historic defense because the offense can't carry the load. Maybe later on in the playoffs we can look back at that, but in this instance, when you're going against a guy that's in the playoffs for the first time, they got sacked 5 times. They only put up 17 points against the Chargers. There's not a lot of weapons. You can't waste a historic defense. That just can't happen. So those are the two can'ts, and that's why I don't believe the Texans. I don't think they can afford to lose this game. You can't. You just can't. You know what you can do? You can go to Fanatics Live and enjoy yourself. I just got in another break, and it's actually going to be tomorrow. But I am back in the card collecting game thanks to Fanatics Live. Let's take you through my experience. Then we'll also hear from Nick Caley. We'll hear from Josh McDaniels, and we'll also hear from a Patriots player who's not that impressed with the Texans defense. First, though, let's go through my experience at the greatness of Fanatics Live, and I'll tell you how you can join the game. Hey, it's Landry Locker here. Shout out to Fanatics Live for sponsoring the video. And Fanatics Live, it's fantastic. They are reviving the collector's game like no other. It's easy to collect on Fanatics Live. Whether you're a NFL fan like myself, an NBA fan, MLB, Pokemon, they got something for everyone. Whether you're a beginner or an expert, it's awesome. It's thrilling. It's fun. It's such a fun process. We all remember opening packs of cards, but now there's instant rips where you get the instant satisfaction. Every single pack has a professionally graded card. I'll take you through my experience in a second. And the beauty of it is you're not stuck with it. It goes immediately in your collection. We'll get to that a little bit later. And they also have breaks. You don't have to buy the entire box, whether it's an auction, whether it's a spin. You get a team, and every player from that team that gets opened in the break, which you can watch live, you get those cards. I got some cards. I got a chance for you to win. It's the most interactive way to collect cards. Fanatics Live is absolutely fantastic, and I will take you through my experience on Fanatics Live when I partook in it. My first of many. So I started out by getting in a break. And this was a stash or pass. This is one of the cool features. So I got to spin. I landed on the Cowboys. Now, do I stash the Cowboys and take all the Cowboys cards in Houston? That's probably not a good idea. So I decided to pass and spin the wheel again. So I click pass, and then we spin the wheel again. And wherever this lands, I'm going to get every card that is opened of that team in the break, which I can watch live. I got the Steelers. No harm, no foul. Can't win them all. Then I wanted to get an instant rip. I wanted to get some instant satisfaction. So I got my instant rip pack, and immediately the Bo Nix PSA professionally graded 9 appears in my collection. Now I can stash it or I can sell it on Fanatics Live. I decided to keep it and see what happens in the playoffs. Then I decided, okay, well, I want to get in a break, and I want to get the Texans. Let's add some Texans to the collection. This is the beauty of this. You can see all the stuff that they have to offer. The vendors on there are awesome. You can follow them. You can interact with them. That's a lot of time. It's almost like a whole sports collecting community. But I decided I wanted to get some Texans in the collection. So I decided I was going to do the auction. So I scrolled down, $14. I got the Texans. You can see the cards right there. And I actually have them right here because they mailed them to me. You got the Jalen Noel rookie. I got the Higgins rookie. Heck, I even got a Browns break, and I got a Shador Sanders rookie, and I got a Mason Graham autograph. I'm going to give you a chance to win these at an SNL gathering, but you can start your own collection right now on Fanatics Live. I promise you won't regret it. You can get a free pack with a graded or authenticated card. All you got to do is download the app with the link below and join your first stream. The card game has never been more fun. I promise you, you will not regret it. Shout out to Fanatics Live. They have completely changed the game. There you go. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of it. You can join the game in the description. I'm not kidding. It's fantastic. I absolutely love Fanatics Live. So you should definitely check that out. Strong recommendation of that. Let's go to the chat. We'll hear some trash talk. We'll continue to look ahead to this matchup, this romantic matchup for Nick Caley in a sec. First, let's hear from the most important people, you people. And I do mean you people.
Swarm.
ESG Soccer says little behind, but we know why they're saying he played well. Soft NIL kids who need hand warmers. I'm a CJ defender, but this soft boy attitude is lame. It is what it is. I mean, it is what it is. The handling is very clear. He's mentioned it himself, and we see it in their actions. So I don't know if it's a generalized thing. I don't think everyone's built like that. I think there's a lot of guys in the NIL era who would say that. I think we just heard from one of his teammates. I don't think Will Anderson could have the equivalent of that where, let's say Will Anderson jumps off sides 3 times, but makes a few plays. But he extends Steelers drives with like really costly penalties. Do you think Will Anderson's going to go up there and say, I played well? The answer is fuck no. The answer is fuck no. And I'm not, and it's different strokes for different folks. The good coaches like the D'Amico Ryans, he's talked about he's got to handle different players differently. But I say that to say I don't think it's an NIL thing. I think it's a CJ thing. And he's young. But that's just kind of what it is. And it's interesting to watch. It's interesting to observe. And they got a good team, so they can still win. MH We Eat Nation says, let's hope the video of Toro ripping the terrible towel doesn't come back to bite this team. Opponents who do it have bad luck. Is that right? I haven't seen any stats there. You got any stats on this, MH We Eat Nation? Sometimes you'll bring some numbers to me in the chat. So let me know. I want to see the history of mascots ripping towels. I want to check that out. St. Louis Rebel, shout out to you, my friend. The man, the myth, the legend. Shout out to Hodak's Chicken out there in St. Louis. Big fan of Hodak's. Used to be a big fan of Ponticello's Pizzas too. Big fan. We used to have those in the freezer. We used to keep those. We used to ship those before it was more difficult to, more easy to ship, I should say. He says, all CJ has to do is play within the system, find the open receiver, and not play hero ball. Fact. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. There's not like a huge dependency. So that is the beauty of it. I would agree with you on that. I would agree on that. PP Prod says, I can't stand Texans fans. You're in the wrong place, I think. I know we get a lot of people here. If you can't stand Texans fans, you're probably in the wrong place. That's probably the wrong place for you, my friend. If you can't stand Texans fans, that's a weird thing to come in and cry about. You should probably go to McDonald's and tell them you can't stand saturated fats. That's an interesting notion by you, but I appreciate you for coming through. Let's hear from Nick Caley. So Nick Caley is going back to New England. And I asked Nick Caley about his relationship with Josh McDaniels. And Josh McDaniels' dad, I guess, in his hometown was like a legendary high school coach who Nick Caley grew up idolizing as a kid when he wanted to be a coach. I asked him about it. He's kind of downplaying it, but it's definitely a thing.
About your history, I think you mentioned it at your opening presser, but just your history with not just Josh McDaniels, but the McDaniels family in general.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time, obviously, with Josh there, but from the same hometown, Canton, Ohio. His father was a very successful high school coach at Camp McKinley and a couple other places, and kind of grew up in the same area. Didn't really know Josh till I got to New England, but got a lot of respect for his father, and obviously worked for him, and now worked with Ben.
There you go. So that's Nick Caley talking about going to face Josh McDaniels. I thought it was interesting to hear Josh McDaniels kind of asked about the Texans defense and how much it kind of contradicted what one of his players said. And this is kind of making the rounds around here. Keyshawn Butte had an interesting thing to say. But first, let's hear Josh McDaniels. By the way, Josh McDaniels looks a lot less stressed when he's not a head coach, doesn't he? Looks like he's lost some weight. I think he's not dyeing his hair. There's a little less gray. He looks a lot different than when he's coaching the Raiders. But here is Josh McDaniels talking about the Texans defense and how good it is. And this is on the day after Mike Vrabel said this is by far the best defense that they're facing this year.
I mean, it's really good. I mean, it's the best one we've played all year, and that's saying a lot because we played some really good ones this year. Historically, I don't know. I mean, that's hard to, gauge different teams, different eras, et cetera. But there's nothing they don't do well. I mean, it's really.
He says it's the best one they've played. But one of his receivers, Keyshawn Butte, he was asked about if this is the toughest, and if this is the best. And I guess he's kind of gassing himself up a little bit, but he doesn't seem to be as impressed with the Texans as his coaches are. So here's what he said.
The toughest defenses that you've personally had to prepare for. I wouldn't say one of the toughest. At the end of the day, we know we're gonna get man coverage. Got to beat it. It's that simple. I think they're just physical cornerbacks, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm physical too. So I mean, that's a matchup I like every day of the week. So just ready for Sunday.
He likes it. He likes the physicality. He wouldn't say it's the toughest defense. You don't want to pay the compliment. Keyshawn Butte has been kind of up and down. There's a big boom factor. Drake May's been really good throwing the deep ball. And he's kind of one of those guys who is hit or miss. But he definitely doesn't want to give the Texans defense any flowers. So that's what he had to say. I really didn't think anything too crazy of it, but I do know that this defense likes to, they like to have chips on their shoulder. They play better. They want all the smoke. They want all of the smoke, like from the top to the bottom of the defense. So I think they'll probably take this and they'll probably use it. But it's basically going to be a don't let him catch the deep ball. Like it's not going to be the death by 1,000 cuts type of crap. It's basically just don't let him catch the deep ball. And man. And I think Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter should feel quite confident, just like he does, heading into the game.
Swarm.
Nathan Palmer says if CJ throws 3 TDs, we will win. Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Would you bet on that? Would you bet on CJ Stroud throwing 3 touchdowns in a game? But yeah, if he does, they do. He's done that twice this year. In Baltimore, when their team was depleted on October 5th, and against Arizona. So if CJ throws 3 touchdowns, it would be the 3rd time this year. But I would agree with your assessment that if he throws 3 touchdowns, they win. As a matter of fact, if he throws 3 touchdowns, they probably win by a hell of a lot. They're probably winning by a couple touchdowns if CJ Stroud throws 2 touchdowns. So I would agree with your assessment there, Nathan. Appreciate you for coming through. Zachary says, if I'm D'Amico, I'm playing that clip over and over. Talking about the Butte? Yeah, I mean, it'll be acknowledged. They'll bring it up. They'll bring it up, but I think he's kind of one of those guys that wants the smoke, wants the challenge, and he's going to get it. This is going to, like you heard McDaniels and you heard Vrabel say, this is going to be the best defense that they got. This is going to be the best defense they got. I always get amused when people start arguing about CJ in the comments. It's very funny. I think a lot of people use like the chat as like, well, I tweet something and no one says anything, so I'm just going to go here and argue with everyone about CJ. Like, there's a middle ground with CJ Stroud. People frustrated with the way he played. It's not that big of a deal. It is what it is at this point. There's a possibility that he could get paid early. He's got 2 years left on his rookie deal. They're going to pick up the 5th-year option. They're going to roll with it. It's really just a matter of what the deal is. But there's always like it's like a weird, like, let's go into the chat, and anytime anyone says anything about CJ, I'm going to argue about it. It's weird. It's honestly weird behavior. It's weird behavior. You should hold him to a decent standard. It shouldn't be that serious, and it's going to be a back and forth. But I'm always amused by the arguing over the quarterback. But quarterback's a polarizing position. And with the good comes the good, and with the bad comes the bad. So the debates are fine. It's just a weird, like, seeking out, arguing with every little person that says something about it. And I don't mean you are little. You know what I mean? So I want to follow the clues heading into Sunday. And again, shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the video. Take advantage of that Fanatics opportunity. I promise you will not regret it. I find this clue something that we've talked about a lot, but clue 1 that we've had in the short term is CJ Stroud's performance. Now, what does it mean? Is it a warning sign of things to come, or is it just like a one-off? Because they're presenting it as a one-off, and I think in a perfect world, that's what it is. We've never seen him do what he did the other day. Like we've never really seen him do that. Now, it was also a playoff game in a very hostile environment, and there was a lot of pressure. So I don't think you can compare, well, we didn't see him do this against the Raiders or the Cardinals or something like that as the same thing. But I would agree that he's obviously capable of not doing that. But it is a clue. Like, if let's say that performance repeats itself Sunday in New England, we got the clue. Clues don't always play off, but we got the clue. It's there. Next clue, and this one was something I asked Frank Ross about. We saw Ka'imi Fairbairn miss an extra point below the crossbar, and we saw Tommy Townsend shank a punt 22 yards. No harm, no foul, because the defense was able to hold the Steelers to 3 after the 22-yard shank, and the ass whooping was on when Fairbairn missed the extra point. But that's not always necessarily the case, especially when the margin for error is what it is. So I asked Frank Ross about kind of the balance of, after wins, looking at things like that, not making too big of a deal about them, but emphasizing that it is a big deal and it can cost you a ball game. I asked Frank about that.
In a lot of situations, I know obviously you're overall pleased with the special teams performance, but you had a 22-yard punt and you missed an extra point. What's the balance there? Because in playoffs, that can be extremely costly. What's the balance of, okay, we had a good performance, but these two mistakes can end your season?
Yeah, I mean, at this point of the year, you're not okay unless it's a near perfect game. Like, that's the NFL in the playoffs. You know, who's head coach on the other side of the field? He is going to squeeze every single situational football recipe out, and we have to be on it no matter what. End of the Colts game, it doesn't matter who's out there for us. We've got to make sure we have all of our the nuances of it, the game within the game. We've got to be top notch. That moving forward, and X's and O's and schematically on my end, and then going out and winning your one-on-one matchups, and then executing the job, the little things, whether there's a situation or an issue or not. We got to be perfect in our protection and on our kicks, kick direction on kickoffs, punt direction. We got to find a way to make sure we match all those things together, because it's already hard enough when you're going against the best units in the league. It's already hard enough to just body-on-body tackle. They got good returners, good blockers. They got good rushers. So do we. But, that's the recipe. You got to be really good with the executional piece. So I'm excited to step up to the plate this week.
He's excited. I think most people are excited. It's just you can't make mistakes like that in playoff games. Like, there's a lot of teams, man, like, even with really good kickers. And we'll get into this in the long-term clues that the Texans have provided us with here in the locker room. Be sure to like the video, subscribe, all that. Check out the Fanatics. I'm strongly recommending that. The Fanatics, and most of you already play Sleeper. But there's some really good teams that have had really good kickers, and the kicker is what they look back at, and that's the reason that they lost in the playoffs. Mike Vanderjagt with the Colts. Gary Anderson with the Vikings. Like, it happens. Hell, the Jags can talk about that. The Ravens. So the dependency on the kicker is dangerous. And when you're missing extra points like that, sometimes it can be costly. So that's just kind of the short-term clues. Like, the short-term clues that you were able to overcome that could end up biting you in the ass in the playoffs are, number one, the quarterback play, which is polarizing. Thought it was funny in the chat. Someone said, "Welcome to the internet." Yeah, it's all funny. It's just when you go into a chat and someone says something about CJ, and then someone goes in the chat and is arguing to defend, and then someone else says something that has nothing to do with it, and you're arguing with them. It's just like it's meat riding culture that it's weird. But the long-term clues outside of the special teams and CJ Stroud, I think, are what we also need to look at. And this is where we practice the Van Gundy theory that I often mention, that I really live by when it comes to analyzing a game week to week in the NFL, is you take the clues and you don't ignore in victory what you would not ignore in defeat. And the Texans have been winning a lot of games. But they have given us some long-term clues that maybe you can overcome, but they are there. And I just want to go through those and just at least acknowledge what they are. But first, let's hear Nick Caley talking about life minus Nico Collins, because that's the reality of the situation. Is life without Nico Collins is going to happen. Let's hear Caley real quick on that. And I kind of want to put that in perspective before we get to the year-long clips.
Nico's a great player. If we got him out there, then great. And if it's a situation, it's a next man up situation. So we'll be able to adjust and move guys around. The value of those guys in that room is they've moved around quite a bit. I mean, those guys have played a lot of different positions, from Z to X, X to Z, inside to outside, etc. So we got a lot of faith in whoever's out there. In that regard.
All right, so these are the realities of life without Nico Collins. And there's a sad reality and there's a great reality. The great reality is you did a good job, especially given what we saw from Christian Kirk. And you'd already done a great job, even when you thought Christian Kirk wasn't very productive, which he wasn't in the regular season. But Christian Kirk right now has the most receiving yards in the NFL playoffs. It's 1 week, but 144 yards. Nobody had more than that. I think the second was Colston Loveland with the Bears. I think he was like 120, 130, whatever it was. You've done a good job of building a receiving group top to bottom. And maybe more importantly, and maybe something that maybe there is a deeper reason why, but they're healthy. We've talked about this a number of times. Like, the receiving core is healthy. This is a probably a 4+ deep wide receiver room. You got guys who can make plays. So you address that in the offseason, and you've improved to where if Nico Collins is gone, you should still feel pretty good about your receivers. They're probably better than what the Patriots are putting out there. The other reality is Nico Collins misses games. And that was why it was so important to build wide receiver depth. Now, he's been really the only guy available in the playoffs the last couple of years, but he misses games. There's stretches where you're going to have to go without Nico Collins. Now, ideally, you would like it to be like a 1 month stretch like it was last year when he had the soft tissue injury, or, before the playoffs, but you're going to have to do it. So this should not be like an overwhelming surprise. It's unfortunate, and hopefully you get him back, but they knew it. We talked about it. Like, you're going to have to, most likely, more times than not, you're going to have to go through stretches without Nico Collins, just kind of the nature of the physical nature in which he plays, along with the dangers of the game. So it happens. So they got to figure it out. I think they proactively addressed it. It didn't catch him by surprise. And whether it's 1 week, whether it's 2 weeks, they got enough around CJ Stroud to where you could be able to get it done. So those are the realities of the Nico Collins situation. Now, getting back to the year-long clues that we have heading into this game. And again, I don't think the Texans can afford to lose this game. You're the better team. Your quarterback can't let the young quarterback cut in line. But clue number one is you have a potential all-time defense. Like, the company that this defense is in is all-time. You're talking 2015 Denver. You're talking the Ravens. You're talking Tampa Bay. You're talking Seattle. All-time defenses should not get eliminated in the divisional round. Sometimes maybe it catches up to them if the offense doesn't carry the load and they maybe get out in the conference championship. But an all-time defense, you can't waste that. We've seen that all year. We've seen this defense get better and better and better and better, and they seem to outdo themselves all the time. 100 combined yards against Buffalo and Kansas City in the second half. Less than 100. They still win. 3 insane turnovers against the Steelers. And they still win. And oh, by the way, they outscore. They double the Steelers' point total by themselves. You have an all-time defense. That's a clue. Patriots don't have anything all-time on there. Not yet. We don't know what Drake May is going to be and what they're going to figure out. They don't have that. So that's clue number one, year long. Clue number two, and this one's dangerous. This one's dangerous. We've talked about this. You've relied on your kicker at a historic level. You've relied on the kicker at a historic level. That's not a life that you want to live. It's not a life you want to live. This is way different weather conditions. This is way more pressure. You've relied on him a lot. Hell of a lot. Does that eventually bite you in the ass? Because we've seen it. And we saw him miss an extra point last week. I'm emphasizing that because we haven't seen that. It's one thing to miss high, wide. He missed it below in the cold. So keep that clue in mind. You got a great defense, but you've relied on your kicker. Does that eventually bite you? Clue 3. The offense has been up and down. So the clue about CJ Stroud's performance That can go a number of ways. The offense has been up and down. There haven't been like extreme highs, but there have been better than the bads. I think last week was probably the worst. I think last week was probably the worst performance that you've seen. So it's been up and down. You can't really depend on it. You can depend on the defense. You've depended on the kicker a lot, although that's a dangerous thing to do this time of the year. And you can't necessarily depend on the offense because you don't know what the hell you're going to get. So those are the 3 clues. The final clue, and I think this one's important. I don't think this gets dismissed. The final clue is the strength of schedule mismatch is a thing. Now, I know sometimes we have these conversations, specifically in college football, where it's like, well, they didn't play anybody. That's what probably a lot of people were saying about Miami. They didn't play anybody. They played in the ACC, and then they just go out there and kick ass. But in this instance, it's first place schedule, last place schedule. It's the toughest strength of schedule versus the easiest strength of schedule. And I think both of these teams in the first round faced inferior opponents. I think both of the offenses really kind of had noticeable struggles, with the Patriots allowing 5 sacks and CJ Stroud performing the way that he did. Although there were some really good performances with Christian Kirk with the Bill 44 and Woody Marks with the 100 plus. But I do think this one matters. The strength of schedule. That's not something that you really minimize. And when you look at the Patriots roster, like Miami has some dogs on it. It's a good team, but it's not like I think they're very well coached, but this is not like some sort of world-beating team. So take those clues into the game and do with them what you want. But I think there are things that we need to keep an eye on. The short-term clues and the long-term clues. The special teams is something else that I think that the Texans are going to have to start making some plays. And we know that Marcus Jones is the man. We know it very well. We saw it down the street at the TDECU, at the TDECU Stadium. Speaking of TDECU, tdecu.org/Texans to get that fresh new Texans debit card. Membership required, insured by NCUA. Shout out to TDECU for sponsoring SNL playoff coverage. By the way, SNL on the road at BB's Kingwood tomorrow. We'll get there. Practice is at 10:30, so we'll probably get there around 2, and we'll hang out with the people. And by the way, the guy that hasn't showed up the last 2 weeks after losing a $100 bet, I'm not even going to take your $100. I didn't want. He was at every remote we had, and then all of a sudden he's not there the 2 after he loses a $100 bet. I'm not taking your $100. Get your ass back there, though. We miss your presence, you crazy mofo, slime ball. But let's hear Frank Ross talking about Marcus Jones.
The pillar matchup for our entire game this week is stopping 25 Marcus Jones. So he's, in my opinion, he's the best returner in the NFL, regardless of what the kind of the Pro Bowl or the All-Pro says. It's just the dynamic skill set, because of when you run and you have to strain and it's harder to stop, like then you're kind of you can neutralize that. He's somebody who can run smooth and stop and start. Rare acceleration, quickness, and he can catch with tacklers in his face. So for us, we have to make sure we handle him.
Yeah, that's fine. But how about the Texans? Jalen Noel has so much potential to break one. It just hasn't happened. And there hasn't even been like a glimmer of hope lately with him. And I thought it was interesting to hear Frank Ross say that needs to change.
At some point, we got to find a way to make an explosive play, make a play that changes the game for our football team. We always want to be that sound unit, but at some point, we got to find a way to make a play that is different and game-changing. So you can't go hunt for those. You got to let them come to you by doing your stuff every single time, holding our blocks a little bit longer, running and stemming to the exact design course, and then making some tacklers miss too.
And I think this is relevant because you look at the last 2 times that the Texans have been in this divisional round, special teams have been a big part of it. And granted, they were bigger underdogs than that, but it's been a big part of it. Baltimore, the Sims touchdown was the only touchdown that they scored. And it kept it a one possession, a really close game in the first half. Steven Sims to the house. Only one that we ever saw him score. It was in the playoffs. And that was like the glimmer of hope that maybe you could win the game. Last year, first play of the game, they force a fumble. Chris Boyd throws his helmet like a dumbass. He thinks that Frank Ross is celebrating with him. He's not. He pushes him. Not good. There's other examples. Start of the second half. Texans down 7. Best drive of the season by far. Joe Mixon scores the touchdown. He looks back, basically sticks his middle finger up to the Chiefs. Kyrie Fairbairn misses the extra point. And there were other blunders. So we talk about clues. Frank Ross is emphasizing, and Frank Ross is talking about how much they need an explosive play and all that type of stuff. He knows. He knows. Special teams have been a big part of these games. And those were cold games too. Like cold divisional round games. Special teams have been massive for the Texans. Extremely massive. It would be nice if Jalen Noel, like Steven Sims, could have his first big return in this round. Because this defense is better than that one too. And this team isn't as good as that Baltimore team. So there you go. JPS, come on, man.
Swarm.
He says, hot take, if CJ throws 5 TDs, we have a big chance of winning the game. Come on. TX Perp Sipper says, are people in the media being paid to bash CJ? The criticism of his last game feels over the top. It almost like seems like there's an agenda against him. He played like shit, man. Like he played like shit. Like I know there's like a defensiveness that comes with being a sports fan, and I respect it. I admire it. And sometimes like in the chat, it gets a little bit out of control because you're literally going in there just to argue in a chat. But what standard do you hold him to? I mean, were people in the media after CJ's rookie year, were they being paid to like put him on this pedestal, like right there below the elite quarterbacks? Were they being paid to have him on every podcast? I don't think so. I don't think it's over the top to have watched that game on Monday Night Football in front of that size of an audience with that defense and criticize it. Lamar Jackson gets shit on. Sometimes I think unfairly. He gets shit on. He hasn't gotten over the hump. Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning used to get shit on when they would have bad games. It's the nature of the game. But I don't think it's over the top. I think I can assure you that if Patrick Mahomes performed that way, then Patrick Mahomes would be getting criticized. I think it just comes with high expectations. So I don't think that it's over the top. I think it's just rough. I think the internet's a little meaner to CJ than the media, whatever that means, because that's a big group. But I think the internet's very mean to him. I've seen a lot of GIFs and stuff like that. Like whenever I'm scrolling through, like the For You, they had that kid helping with the train saying CJ Stroud help wins. They had a lot of crazy stuff. So I think a lot of times like media and social media gets kind of mixed in. But I think the criticism has been, whatever it is, I think it's valid. And I still think people are pretty high on the Texans. I think the Texans are getting more love than they've ever gotten as an organization. I think the defense is getting a hell of a lot of love. But that's just me. I do find it interesting, though, when Nick Caley was asked about CJ Stroud. He's minimizing it, too. And I think that's probably necessary when it comes to the right way to handle things with CJ. Here's Caleb.
No, there's been no change, and I have all the faith in the world. I mean, I think was asked that a couple weeks ago. I mean, there's no change or anything like that. I think he's playing with, he plays confident and has full, control of what we're doing and stuff like that. So he makes good decisions and happy with him.
Clutch City 713 says there's agendas for everyone. It's never Herbert or Lamar's fault. Lamar gets bashed more than anyone. Lamar Jackson gets extremely criticized whenever they come up short. A lot of times his efforts, he has gone down in glorious defeat. Herbert, I mean, he had 25 line combinations this year. So, I mean, I think in that instance, it was a tough situation. The Texans beat his ass last year, though. They beat his ass last year. But again, that goes back to kind of the defensive nature of the QB. But I don't even think, like, CJ's not in that class right now with those two, with where we sit right now. Maybe we can cuss and discuss the Herbert. It's not a finished thing, but CJ's not Lamar. Lamar's a 2-time MVP. Lamar's probably a future Hall of Famer. He's way further along in the game. But Lamar Jackson's that's a different level of quarterback. If the Texans had Lamar Jackson in his prime right now, they would win every game by 30. So I think it's a little bit different. But to say that Lamar Jackson never gets blamed is crazy. I think he gets more unnecessary hate than anyone. Herbert, I would not compare the situation that he had this year to CJ. But I could see where, yeah, they gotta figure something out there. I could see that. So tomorrow we'll be at BB's, myself and Cody Stoots. Again, I don't think the Texans can afford to lose this one. You can't let Drake May skip the line. You can't afford to be the more talented team and lose, and you can't waste a historic defense. So tell me if you agree or disagree. The CJ Stroud thing, it's interesting. There's a back and forth, but I think before last game, it was 100% he can do enough. He's just got to bounce back. He's got to bounce back from the performance. Hopefully that's not good. Hopefully that's not the norm. Because if he plays good by the standards that I think even like the person in the middle holds him to, I think they're good enough. But if he plays like that, then it's going to be tough. Practice tomorrow, 10:30. We'll hear from some guys in the locker room, probably Jalen Petrie. He hasn't spoken. Maybe Daniil and some other guys. So we'll see. I anticipate that Trent Brown plays. He's going to practice tomorrow, I think. I think he's good to go. Jawar Jordan, we'll see. But Nico, that's a beyond long shot. Beyond long shot. Shout out to Sleeper once again. If you want to tail those picks, do so. Use my promo code LOCKER if you are a first-time user and take advantage of that Fanatics. I promise you, you'll enjoy it. It's awesome. It's actually mesmerizing. I might actually go do it right now. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. See you at BB's tomorrow. Post-game, after the game. Might put some localized videos up throughout the weekend. It's one of the best weekends in ball. It's one of the best times to embrace debate and talk about the Texans with the historic opportunity in front of them in a very historic place. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up, we number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do.